Hey, well, this is Zacchaeus with another live word of the day. God bless, God bless. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, today I want to talk about, yes, inheritance for your children. Inheritance. I'm going to want to discuss this inheritance. Now, when it comes to inheritance, I think about real estate. I think about homes that you paid off, that you can leave for your children. Not homes that you're paying finance, that you're financing. Homes that a house or your home that you paid off, that you can possibly leave for your children for when they get older and they can move in. Or a business that you can leave for your children. Like, let's say if it's a brick and mortar business. Let's say it's for example, in cell phone business, electronic business, and you have a store and you're running it, but you're planning to leave it for your children. You're planning to leave it for your children, to maybe your son or your daughter, to run it someday. Or like and they have some online businesses that you can, yes. Today is 2023. In the year 2023 and beyond, 2024, 2025, they have some online businesses that you can leave for your children. I found out about a publishing business. And when you publish books that's already out there already, and you remodel it and you re-edit it, and the author is dead, you can actually make a passive income that way. And you can, and this pays you, once you publish the book, it can pay you until the day you die, then it can continue to pay you, and then your kids can take that over. Or, people don't want to believe this, but yes, YouTube channels can leave a passive income, can create a passive income, and you can possibly pass it on to your child. All they got to do is edit the name and get the email on there, and you can pass it on and leave a passive income for your child. There's many ways to make passive income now in this era, in this day and age. It used to be just real estate. It used to be just a business, like a brick and mortar business, like a restaurant, the family restaurant, which is a great pass on to your children, family restaurant. That right there. Or it could be like a trucking business. You could pass on a trucking business that you own, that you could possibly pass on to your child, and they can run the business. Or a restaurant that can have a club in it and have as a restaurant cuisine, Caribbean restaurant or whatever background you're from, you can leave that restaurant to your children, or African restaurant, and leave it to your children, and your children can run the business while you get retired. You can pass it on to your child. It's good to think about these things, ladies and gentlemen, because when you have a job, you can't pass it. It's not yours to pass on. When you have a job, it's good to have a job, but don't stay there. It's good to have a job, but don't stay there. You cannot pass on a job to your child. Few things you could pass on to your child. Real estate, owning your own property, yes, you can pass on to your child. Owning your own property, running your own building that have tenants in it, you can pass it on to your child, and they can run that real estate for you when you don't want to run it no more. Number 2, a business, restaurant business, trucking business, electronic business. You can pass on to your child, and they can run, while you retire, they can run the business for you. Some real estate businesses, some online businesses, you can pass it on to your child and say, listen, I want to pass this on to you as a stream of income. And you can make, in other words, you're not out there in a cold, or out there just to fend for yourself. So I'm leaving this as my pass on to you. Also, you know what you can leave down to your child too? Wisdom. Teach them prayers. Teach them to pray every day. Leave them a church. Let's say a church. You can leave them a ministry that you can pass on to your child, and they can run the ministry for you. You can leave a ministry for your child, or teach them to say, listen, I'm a pastor, and I want to leave something that if you're thinking about becoming a pastor, or this is what you want to become like daddy, you want to become like mommy and teach the Bible. So this is a church I'm leaving for you. So when I get old, you can run the church. If God called you to preach, God called you to preach, and He said you're thinking about, well, I'm preaching, now I'm getting older now, I can leave a ministry for my child. That's another thing you can pass on to your child, is ministry. You can pass ministry on to your child. That's if your child wants it. If he or she is called to do that, you can pass it on to your child as well. But a job you cannot pass on. A job that you're working for another boss, or you're working for somebody, you can't pass on. But what you can do, it's not all bad with a job. What you can do is you can build enough income through stocks, investment, and you can possibly build your stocks up, and leave it to your child. Or there's something called, there's another investment called too. It's called Bentley. I hope I'm saying it right. There's another investment opportunity out there. There's Bentley investment opportunity out there. And I'm gonna leave all these hashtags in the description. There's Charles Schwab that you can actually leave. Charles Schwab is a stock that you can actually leave, and you can actually build stocks up, and then possibly save up enough money, and then pass it on, and then just give it as something to your child too while you work your job. Because not everybody is inspired to open businesses. Not everybody is inspired to, but it's good. It's good to leave an inheritance for your children. It's good to have something. That's why I say real estate, a business, brick and mortar business, whether it's a restaurant or an electronic shop or a sneaker shop, any type of brick and mortar business you can pass on to your child, and they can run the business while you get older. They can run the business. You can pass it on. They can run the business. Or high riser. Maybe you have that in your family where you own a property that have multiple apartments in the property, and you want to pass it on to your child. It's good to think about these things. It's good to have these thoughts in your mind as you get older and you work your job. It don't always, I'm not putting on jobs, but with a job you're working, you cannot pass on to your child. But there's other options out there. While you work your job, you can start an online business that can possibly pass on to your child and say, listen, there's enough money that I accumulated, so I'm able to pass it on to you, so you have to struggle out there. Because there's people that do not pass on businesses to their children, do not pass on property to their children, and the children out there struggling. They went to college, but they don't find the job that they went to college for, and now they're out there struggling with a job that doesn't pay them enough to survive. They don't pay them. A job only pays you a certain amount, especially those jobs that pay $50,000 to maybe less than $50,000 to $60,000, and you're living in an expensive city, and it doesn't pay you enough. Sometimes you have to work a second job, or sometimes it doesn't pay you enough to supplement your income. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not enough, and sometimes you don't want your child to be out there just working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and you're working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and they're seeing you do that. They're seeing mommy and daddy do that. It's good to think about an inheritance, something you can pass on to your child. Yes. Now I know what the Bible says, what David says, I've been young and old, I'll never see the righteous begging for bread. That's a scripture, yes. But it's also good to leave something for your child, so when they get out there, they're not just relying on a boss to supply their needs, relying on a boss to determine their survival. No. Relying on a boss to determine your survival as far as income. No. Leave something for your child. Leave something for your children. So when they get older, they're not just stagnant out there. Mommy and daddy left this property for me, so now I don't have to struggle out there and buy an expensive home for $700,000. I don't have to buy a home and I have to pay a hefty mortgage for $700,000. Ladies and gentlemen, things are getting more expensive out there. Right now in America, there's an inflation going on. There's inflation happening right now where people cannot afford their homes. People are living in one property with several families. That's what's going on. And when you buy groceries, you're buying 2 bags of groceries and you're spending close to $200 for 2 bags of groceries for your family. So that's why I emphasize, yes, like myself, I worked 25 years at my job, 25 years, but I'm not staying there. I thank God for it. Yes, I thank God for it, but I'm not staying there. I'm not staying because it does not allow me to have an inheritance for my child. So I gotta tap into a business that will allow me to have an inheritance, pass on business that can allow me to have an inheritance for my child. And I emphasize this, that as adults, you should be thinking that especially if you have children, you should be thinking that way. Or even if you don't have children, you have nieces and nephews, you should be thinking that way. What can I do to leave an inheritance for my children? What can I do to leave an inheritance for my child? We gotta think this way because there's a dog-eat-dog cold world out there. And you don't want your child to be relying on a boss that's scream and yell at them day in and day out, or they just job hopping after job hopping. Have something for your children so they can have an income coming in for themselves, so they're not strapped out there. They're not like left out in the cold. What a live word of the day is coming out of Proverbs chapter 13, verses 22. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children. Well, this is Zacchaeus with another live word of the day. God bless, and thanks for tuning in. And if you like this content, smash the like button. I really appreciate it. God bless you, and thank you for tuning in. God bless.